What's your
Yeah.
opinion on the kind of out of the current climate with PBC falling apart, and your thoughts on Al Heyman being sort of inaccessible? Does that hinder PBC? Give us your insight on that.
Well, a lot of people in boxing say I've become an expert on PBC. I've got a lot of good inside information. I've predicted a lot of things. I've looked at it. Everything they've done is wrong since their inception. And it's all caught up with them. They were financed. They were really on corporate welfare the last 2 years. They were just getting financed by Showtime. They had lost Fox, and they were just getting financed by Showtime. And they're out of money. They're out of ideas. They're out of money. They're throwing shit against the wall. Hopefully, it's going to stick. And they got no money left. They're running on empty. That Jackson Brown song, "Running on Empty," sort of fits perfectly PBC.
Going to Amazon.
Al Heyman not talking to the. What's that? I'm sorry.
Going to Amazon. Do you think they have to front a lot of the money and costs?
Yeah, they have to front. They're not getting any money. They're paying literally for the production. The only thing that Amazon has agreed to do was supply them with a platform to do pay-per-view distribution and marketing on the Amazon website or app or whatever it is. They're not spending any other money, and the PBC's paying for the production. I mean, it's a horrible deal, but Heyman had no choice. He had no takers. He's blazed through 11 networks in the last 9 years, and he's caused his own problems. Terrible.
They overpaid fighters when they entered the game, which really offset the rest of the market. So when other fighters went to other promoters, they were demanding certain amounts of money based on what they were getting offered at PBC. Is there any truth to that? Have you experienced it?
Yeah. Listen, they have screwed up the marketplace. Al Heyman not talking to the press and not being a mouthpiece for his fighters has helped kill their brand, along with bad fights. A million reasons why.
Why do you think he doesn't speak to to reporters or anything? Why is he such a hidden figure?
A recluse? Why is he a recluse? I can only imagine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the weirdest shit. No other promoter has ever done that in history. Everyone's out front and center. I mean, Bob Arum and Don King. Bob Arum, Don King, when Dan Goosen was alive, these guys, you couldn't keep their mouth shut. All they did was talk.
Yeah.
And this guy refuses to even show up to the fights. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I've never understood that.
Everything they've done since their inception is anti-boxing and against the business grain of what I know to be successful for a boxing company.
Interesting.
So anti-boxing, what are some examples, other than maybe the
bad matches? Their fighters, their world champions fight every 14 months in 1 week on an average.
Yeah.
Some haven't fought in years. Jamal Charlo just fought Charlo just fought one time, and a 10-rounder. He's been champ for years, and he hasn't fought in years. I'm just everybody. It's a colossal mess, is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so bad you can't make this shit up.
Why is there so much?
Somebody asked me the other day, a guy called me up and he said to me, if you were running PBC, okay, right now, what would you do? I said, well, do you want to hear what I would have done from the beginning? Well, we know what you would have done from the beginning. There's nothing that they would have done. I said, correct. I said, what would you do now? I told him exactly what I said. I said, you got to cut these purses down. And if these fighters are not willing to fight for cheap money and defend their world titles, then don't use them. I mean, they're running on empty. Just figure this out. They have very, very, very little money. They're going to lose money on Tim Tszyu versus Thurman. That's not going to do over 50,000 homes. If it does 55, it'll be a miracle. Okay, they got to pay Canelo and Munguia a ton. I don't know if they're going to make any money on that. Then they're going to come out with Benavides.
For that fight?
What's that?
They're bidding for that fight. They want to have that on their platform.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to do it May 4th. But the point is that they're going to lose money before that on March 30th.
Yeah.
And then just everything they do turns to shit.
Yeah, it's definitely a different strategy. And it seems like, from what I've heard behind the scenes and talking to matchmakers and things like that, is they're kind of like the outcast of boxing, like it seems like now De La
Yeah,
Hoya.
I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened back a bunch of years ago now. Maybe it was 2016, 2000, right around 2016. I'm not going to mention any names. I was putting a fighter in a fight on a top ring show, a 10 rounder for 12,500. Okay. And make a long story short, the manager of the fighter called Bruce Trampler up behind my back and said, listen, ours was a 10 rounder. He was getting offered an 8 rounder from PBC for $33,000.
Wow.
And where the odd figure came in was they offered 30 and he turned it down. They went to 35 and he tried to get 35 and they offered him 33. And he asked Bruce Trampler to get out of the fight and Bruce let him out because it was too much of a difference. He says, Rick, almost three times the amount for this poor guy fighter needs the money. I can't, it's life-changing money for that particular fighter. I can't do that to that guy. And he let him out of the fight. But why would they have to pay him $33,000? I was paying him $12,500. I mean, and that's what he was worth. And they just had a whole history of this. And that's why they lost $900 million.
Wow, that's crazy. So do you think that's why boxers seem so loyal to Al Haymon and PBC is because of the money factor, or is there more to that?
Because they don't have to fight too often and they get overpaid when they fight. Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like a sweet deal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's.
What are your thoughts on some of these like new promotion concepts, like, Triller and like what Jake Paul is doing? Does this help boxing in your opinion, or is it kind of hindering the quality of boxing that we're seeing?
100%. So that's a good success rate.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and what they're doing, like entering the North American market? How do you think they're doing?
He's a great UK promoter. He's been a colossal failure in the United States. Colossal failure. And I'm not saying North America because those shows in Mexico he's put on, they've been pretty decent. They've drawn good crowds, but his shows in America, really, he hasn't drawn any people. Now, not good. None of it good.
Why do you think that is?
Because he doesn't understand the U.S. market, and he won't, because he doesn't understand the mentality of the fighters and the fans, because he comes from a very wealthy background, and he looks at, these people can afford, $10,000 tickets, ringside. I'm just using an example, $2,500 tickets. Yeah, because he could afford them, but the guy sitting in the bleachers can't afford $500 tickets, and they don't understand the marketplace. He puts some of the fights in the wrong places. He put a couple good shows on in Phoenix and stuff like that, but overall, he's been a failure in the U.S. Listen, I wish him well. I don't dislike the guy. I just don't like how he's a hypocrite with the drugs, with the performance-enhancing drugs, and I also don't like that he lies. I also don't like that he lies a lot. I'm not really a fan. I'm not really a fan of that. So it is what it is. No human being is perfect. I haven't met a perfect human being. Even my wife's not perfect. Close, but not perfect.
What's your goal for the remainder of your career in boxing? Are you have any projects coming up? What does the next chapter look like for you?
What is the next chapter for me? Just do what I'm doing. I love what I do. I'm an animal at what I do. I live for it, and I just want to. I like to get to 50 clients, which I'm close at 49. But every time I get close to 50, it seems like I drop one or two. So I want to get to 50 clients, and I just want to continue to be the best I can be. That's all I can do, and do the best I can for my clients, and be accessible like I am 24/7, 365, where I give them peace of mind, where I have resolve to their questions and everything else like that. And I love what I do. I mean, this is what I do. I'm a complete animal.
So Rick, what are your thoughts on sanctioning bodies and the old school having one champion back in the day And now
boxing's too worldwide today to have one champion.
Yeah.
You need 4 champions. We have too many world-class fighters around the world in all these different countries. Don't forget the Soviet Union's not the Soviet Union anymore. It broke up. So you got all those countries over there. You've got countries all over the world that were never in boxing before.
Mm-hmm.
So franchise champions, super champion, interim champion, like it never ends. And it's like, it gets confusing.
That I disagree with. In other words, one champion per organization, WBA, WBO, WBC, IBF. Yes, all those different bullshit, and that I disagree with.
Yeah, same.
Wow. Yeah,
it gets a little confusing, and I feel like, for the casual fans, they don't know who's a real champion. I feel that each champion should have to fight 3 times a year: 1 voluntary defense, 1 mandatory, and 1 unification bout.
Absolutely. What do you think would have to change for that to be common practice?
All 4 organizations get together and work together in unison to make all this happen.
And how realistic is that?
It's not. Mm-hmm. That's why we're at where we are.
Mm-hmm. So outside of sanctioning fees, obviously all these belts, they collect sanctioning fees, and, there's a money aspect there. Do you think networks really push because they want to have champion versus champion? It's more marketable. What's your
yes and no, but I can't blame the networks. I blame the fighters, the managers, and the promoters. Mm-hmm. I can't blame the networks. The networks want the biggest and best fights.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How are you feeling?
Good. No, it's
Rick,
I love picking your brain. It's a lot of
what's that?
This has just been fantastic. You've got just a wealth of experience and coming, with the whole Sopranos, East Coast, New York way you tell it is, I can't think of anything better than that. So, on behalf of Empire, Dan and I just want to thank you so much for your time coming on and chatting with us, sharing your experiences, your wealth of knowledge, your stories, and we look forward to continuing to see your success in boxing.
Well, thanks very much for having me tonight. It's been a pleasure. And if you want me on again for any reason about a fight or about a situation, call me. I'm ready to go.
Appreciate that.
We're always here to help you. You don't have to be the biggest podcasters in the world. Just the fact that you're making a good effort and you have a nice show. I'm interested in helping you out. Okay.
We appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Empire Boxing on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.